Alright, so this is the Airport Advisory Committee regular meeting of the City of Bisbee, Cochise, County of Cochise, State of Arizona, to be held on Monday, May 13th, 2024 at 5:30 p.m. in the City of Bisbee Council Chambers located at 915 South Toberville Road, Bisbee, Arizona. Meeting called to order by myself, Matthew Gurney. At 5:36 p.m. So, all right. Dan Callahan.
Present.
Okay. Mark Gray.
Present.
Dina Harrington.
Present.
Or Chant.
Just Harrington now.
Okay. Harrington.
Thank you.
Okay.
Present.
Amparo. Absent. Sherry Chase.
Here.
All right. Winetta Hill City Liaison, County City Council Liaison is not here. Matthew Gurney, myself, City Liaison here. All right. And Logan Dodd, he's on this list. He'll be here if I'm not. So in my absence at any time. So, all right. Do we have any call to the public? Any of you want to do a call to the public?
Should I say something now, or I don't even have an agenda in front of me, so.
Okay.
So, should I wait till something comes up about the food?
No, you can only talk at call to the public if you're.
No, let them know what we're gonna discuss first.
So, at call to the public, you can talk.
Stuff.
At call to the public, members can speak to the committee. Committee cannot respond back.
Is this the,
State your name and your address.
my address?
Yes, that's what.
I'm Marilyn Seabold. My address is 2145 South Arizona Street.
2145? Okay,
South Arizona Street.
thank you.
I'm the owner of one of the Through the Fence properties. And, I'm assuming you're going to mostly be talking about my property? Or Through the Fence, just automatically, or?
If it's on the business, if it's on the discussion, then yes.
Well, yeah, it doesn't, okay, with the agreement. Okay, I don't know how many of the other property owners have signed an agreement, but, they singled me out for a different one. Because I'm the person who has hangers.
Do this.
Yes, it's not there, is it? Because I'm the owner of the hangars at the airport, adjacent to the airport. I have 16 rental hangars. Most of you know, maybe you person, or you might not be aware. The city called us in for a meeting, and everyone was given an agreement. I think everybody's is different than mine. And the reason I do not sign it is because, well, the city tried to make a deal with me. Mr. Pauken tried to make a deal with me, and he wanted me to buy my hangars, the city to buy my hangars. He said we would take your hangars apart and move them down to the airport, and that's impossible. You can't reassemble them. They're on concrete. And I said, no, if you were going to do that, you would have to buy the land that they're on, and a well share and everything. And I don't think we discussed the price. But it would be substantial, obviously, because I have over $600,000 in just the hangers and the blacktop and the concrete. So, if you would like some background, the story of the history of this piece of property began in 1997 when the city of Bisbee decided to auction off 20 acres adjacent to the Bisbee Municipal Airport. My husband, Bill Seabold, and 3 other pilots, Norm Kelly, Frank Knight, and Russ Noble, begged the city not to sell the property, but there was a man who wanted to build a dental lab, and the pilots thought that the man was a flake. So the city of Bisbee decided to auction off the land. Bill and the other 3 pilots bid $25,000, which was the limit before the sale had to be taken to the voters. Soon thereafter, they acquired 2 deeded taxiways for the 20 acres to the airport property. And I have the deeded tax, I have copies of all the deeds. The county then told them that the property could only be divided into 3 parcels, so Bill ended up with 9 acres. Another had 6 acres, which is now divided into 3 2-acre parcels, and the last one had 5 acres, which has also been divided. The pilots also signed a letter of interest stating that the property would always be used for aviation business, which would help bring business to Bisbee Union. They also had the property zoned HI, or heavy industrial, so that businesses could legally be built on the property. The property sat unused for many years, and then Bill married me. I had some money left to me by my late husband, and he soon told me that his dream was to build some airplane hangars on his property adjacent to Papa 04. So I sold my farm in Maryland and moved to Bisbee. Before doing anything else on the property, Bill filed a 7460-1 with the FAA stating that he wanted to build hangars on the property. The FAA asked why he wasn't building them on the city side, and he told them the story. The FAA did, however, note that the city had not filed airport rules and regulations or minimum standards at that time. Therefore, they were actually out of compliance. The city was out of compliance. So then, the former airport manager, or he was actually airport manager, then Richard Soto helped. The 3 of us went on a search and copied the R&Rs and minimum operating standards of an airport in Utah. I typed them up, we gave them to the city attorney for his comments, and the city submitted them to the FAA. Then we brought our idea to the city council along with letters of support from various pilots and others. At that meeting, council member Luci Giacomino excitedly stated that we were miracle workers. When we built our first row of 8 hangars, we also prepared the airport rules and regs and minimum operating standards to be on the same page as to what we couldn't do on our property. Mainly, we couldn't compete by selling fuel. So, while on our honeymoon in 1999, we ordered the steel for the hangar. Friends and relatives pitched in, and by the end of 2000, we rented those 8 hangars. There was so much interest that in 2004, we had Fast Fab Erectors build for us 8 more hangars that quickly filled up. In the meantime, Sierra Vista built hangars too, and a few of our tenants left and went there. But soon we were full again, and we've always had a waiting list from the beginning. I always tell prospective tenants to check with the city first to see if they have any available, and most have already done so. Bill and I put, at the time, $600,000 just into building the hangars, complete with a handicap-compliant bathroom. And we've also put in blacktop. And we maintain the blacktop, which is one of the stipulations from our place to the city's taxiway.
Right, that's It's 3 minutes.
You only get 3?
Yeah.
Okay.
So you can say your final.
Okay. So I do not want to sell my hangars to the city. My tenant said they don't want to be there if the city owns them. But anyway, that's my income, my hangars. I'm 82, and that's my income, is my hangar rent income. So I'm not in any hurry to do it. I would sign something that didn't take away my property rights, since they said I could never build, and the meeting said I could never ever build anything else on the property because it's on heavy industrial. So I said, that's not gonna work. So anyway, if you have any questions, you can talk to me in person.
Thank you. Anybody else for a call to the public? Okay. All right, so we'll move on to approval of the minutes of the regular session of the airport advisory meeting held on February 12th, 2024. So if you see you'll see 2 agendas. The one with the red lettering is the action agenda. If you want to review that, and then we can, and then I'll wait for a motion to approve.
So on the recommendation of the chair and the vice chair, I said no to Mark.
About what?
There were, so on here it says all agreed, and I did not.
That's right. I thought that was a mess up, so my bad. We'll make that change.
Otherwise, I agree.
Okay. Do I have a motion as noted? Motion, Dan, motions. Second?
I'll second.
Who's that?
Sure.
Sure. All right. All say aye.
Aye.
Nay? Say nay. All right. Okay. As we're going, I'm trying to take notes so so it's easier to do these in the future. So sorry if it takes me a little bit. All right, it's not on here, but it should have been, so I apologize. I will make a add-in for that because Mark was not here when we voted for the discussion and possible recommendation of election of chair and vice chair. So at this point, we just need Mark, if you accept or not.
Yeah, I accept it.
Okay. So I'll make a note in there of that. All right. So do you want me to would you like me to go through the rest of the
Yes,
meeting? Okay.
Yeah, I appreciate
And then we can talk later or another day or whatnot if you want on process. Okay.
Thank you.
So we have old business, which was discussion on conditions of the airport that might need to be repaired. I don't know who put these on there, I don't have names or anything. So does anybody, whoever put this on there, if anybody wants to continue to talk about, conditions of the airport that might need to be repaired or fixed?
I did some research on that, and so I have that, and that is on the new business. I did some research, and that is on the new business, so what I discovered is items that I was wanting to bring up
Okay,
today later on.
okay, so we can talk about those. Anybody else want to have anything on this item? Okay. Yes.
So, the only changes in the last week or so is the lights are out on the wind tee.
On the what?
On the wind tee out in the middle of the field, the windsock and the.
Oh,
wind
okay,
direction.
okay,
They went out about, I don't know, 4 or 5 nights ago.
okay.
And then, right before that antenna showed up.
Oh, the one in the middle?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Okay, I will check on that.
So let me, I don't see anything that applies. So we had a difficulty, what was the official name of that antenna? There was,
I can't remember the specific name. You talking about the one that the military brought in?
yeah. Anyway, they had all the approvals and everything. There was a screw up on the NOTAM, and it happened because we ended up with key people missing at the point where we really needed to file a NOTAM, and it didn't happen for that antenna, the way, because I checked in there on Saturday and there was not a NOTAM to be found. And then I checked with Eric this morning, and he said the same. He tried to file a NOTAM, and the new process with the FAA is you got to have an approved. I'm sure you know all
Yeah,
those steps.
the NOTAMs, yeah.
So I don't know. What I'm getting at is we need like Plan B. We need some backup thing. Also, the lights on that antenna didn't work the second night, and we needed to be able to, put that out too.
The note on the military antenna.
Yeah. And there was nobody to get a hold of.
Yeah, so there was we did have a problem at the airport with the property manager.
Yeah.
He went out of town all of a sudden,
Yeah.
and so I ended up doing some of the work for him myself.
Did you get in the end? So you're the Plan B? That's my question.
Yeah, if it doesn't get through, like Eric or whoever can let me know, and I can put a NOTAM out.
Okay. Cool.
Can we review what that antenna was for? Why the military brought
It was the military and everybody had a request to use the ramp area to they needed to talk to their other radios. It was all approved by the FAA
Yeah.
before us, and then the map reviewed all the project, and
Yeah.
so
So it's an antenna that's used for the
it
military.
was here for 2 days and it's gone.
Yeah, it was a,
It's not working or it's gone?
It's gone. No, they did
Yeah,
their
they
project
removed-
and they
yeah.
left.
Oh, okay.
it
so
was
that just
a military secret project.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't even know.
I thought they were giving us something.
No.
No, it was just,
They gave us a pain in the butt.
yeah. So, okay, so,
Okay, that's the end of that one.
okay. Anything for, old business agenda item 1? Okay. Old business, number 2, discussion and updates on the airport. I apologize. I have a crazy day today, so I wasn't able to do a whole lot of prep work on this. What kind of, any other, like I said, I don't know who put these in. My admin just typed them all in, so sometimes in different committees, they put the names of who put them in, so. Anybody want update, what kind of updates you want?
No
or-
idea.
Clarification
No
on
idea.
what that, or not, we can just let it go, but I don't know what it means.
It's pretty
Discussion on
open-ended.
updates, yeah.
Yeah, I think we'll have more updates with the rest of the business. Okay. So discussion on airport budget and needs, line item, income and expenses. Dan, did you have that one in?
No,
Okay.
none of these are mine.
That was something that I raised.
Okay.
That this is from old business, so
Yeah,
I raised it with the new business, so this must have been someone else
okay.
with the same question.
Okay.
Yeah, we were interested in what the budget was.
Okay.
We mentioned that last meeting.
You want to roll this into new business?
Yeah.
Yeah, so let's just see, anything on item 4?
Exactly.
Nothing on item 4? All right, we'll move on to new business. Apologize about that. New business item 1, discussion on through the fence access agreements with airport adjacent landowners, status and requirements for FAA funding.
That's mine.
Okay,
I did a lot of research over the weekend, actually, on the FAA website, primarily on the FAA website about the TTFA agreements. I think that this is really the main topic that we need to discuss because it impacts, I noticed that items 2 through 10, at least 8 of those have to do with money. Some of them are management and some of them are just plain needing money. So I'm trying to catch up. Dan has mentioned to me that over the last 10 years they've had different sort of agreements put forward. I think what we need to do is establish that this is really important because this seems to be the roadblock that stands between the airport's needs and the financing that would buy those changes and items that we would need to put in. So I would like, some answers I don't have, and we're not going to get them right here today, and those would be what previous agreements may have been floated out there. These are put forward necessarily by the airport owner, in this case the city. It's the FAA's requirement that these deals or these agreements are in place in order to receive federal funding. It's not true with state funding, as I understand it. It's a different set of rules. But to get federal dollars, you need to have these agreements in place. And looking at what are these agreements, they're basically a way of compensating for the fact that you're putting federal dollars into an airport and adjacent property owners sort of get a windfall from that, in theory. Particularly the ones that have been enjoying access or could enjoy access to that airport facility. So if you have a house, for example, on the edge of the airport property, you might have a hangar home, which are very cool and they cost more than regular homes. So having an airport there is a real boon. And these TTFA through the fence access agreements are really a way of clawing back some of that money. And we can talk about right and wrong, but we're not going to because these are the rules in order to get federal dollars. And you need to comply. However, that being said, talk about rules and compliance. They're flexible, and the FAA is willing to sweep some of these aside, if my research is correct. Things, in particular, if you have existing airport access. So future agreements are rather easy to negotiate. You have an airport, someone wants to buy some land next to it. They say, how much does it cost to access the airport? I want to build a hangar home. You can say, here's our deal. This is what it costs, and if you want to build, there it is. But it gets really sticky when you have people who have been enjoying access to the airport, maybe for free and maybe for decades, and that's exactly where we are here at Bisbee. We have several property owners who have, to varying degrees, have access to the airport, have been using it. They have hangars, and I think what we need to do is really lay the groundwork to figure out what needs to be done to get an agreement through. And that may be waiving requirements, making room for existing landholders. So I think we should have a discussion on that and see if we can come to some sort of steps to move forward on that, because that's the roadblock.
I do want to clarify, the landowners do pay, what's the,
Access
an
fee.
access fee. They do pay an access fee.
Every aircraft not in the tie-down area is paying, well, there's a couple of airplanes that are in pieces that are projects, so they're not registered aircraft, so that's the right answer, right? Registered aircrafts are paying the access fee. Yeah. So, yeah, so a certain portion of the answer, just go ahead and interrupt me if I get this out of order now. So, the FAA has an engineering company provided to us. We get to interview them and we get to check their background and all that sort of stuff, and we accept them. And they're basically who's expected to advise us, and they're expected to provide the engineering information in a legible manner to the FAA and agree with what is about to follow. We have a master plan. It's accepted. It's a very long-term, open-ended plan that basically can get adjusted by year as we go along. But we meaning the city of Bisbee, need to be working with the engineer, that whatever we can. If the city of Bisbee does not have the matching funds to go after certain projects, which really and truly has happened a lot in the past, then a certain portion of that planned schedule gets reorganized, and some of the money that's available goes into, how do we describe it? It's available for other airports in the neighborhood to use. We don't
It's
lose it.
reallocated.
It's not lost, it's not, yeah, thank you.
Reallocated,
Yeah,
so
and then,
it's gone
yeah,
for a
it just,
while.
it just goes away for a little bit, and then when we're able to fit it in the plan, make everything work, and have the matching funds, okay? Because I've not here, at other places where I was airport manager, everybody in the city and the county agreed and went along, and then when it came time for the matching funds, man, we had battle of the bands and auctions, and I mean, you made a deal with the feds, and then you said no. That isn't going to work very well. Okay, so the other part of what we're dealing with is a lot. Well, number one, the FAA is after safety, period. Okay, that's the very first gigantic thing. That's why you'll always hear Matt and I going on, we were talking about NOTAMs, we were talking about somebody, a federal government program put an antenna in. They put the antenna in a place where the FAA normally would not accept. Not only was it too close to the runway, but it was too tall, but it's the feds dealing with the feds, so what are you going to do? I mean, we really didn't have any choice to argue, okay? So, the other piece of what the FAA does not want, and this is what directly affects us, is competition. And Mark hit on it a little bit, and it's like there's any time that the public, or it looks like the public, is getting to use federal funds, the FAA doesn't like that at all, okay? So there's a portion that has to be worked out. The bar on all this is so low, it's unbelievable that we even have to talk about it, okay? There is the, what are the ramp fees right now to tie down? I know we never even collect them, but it's,
Yeah, it's like, I think $25
yeah, it's, I mean,
at the most.
Are you talking about a month or a week?
No, just for
Yeah.
people that come in.
people.
25?
I don't
It
think
might-
it's that
It
high.
might be
I
that
don't-
much.
like-
We don't collect because we don't have anybody out there.
Yeah,
So
we
if
don't.
we're going, that's a separate
Right.
thing. We're going to be putting out a safe
Yeah.
box out there for donations because there's no way
Yeah,
of
right.
collecting it.
And so
That's
the other half of what both Matt and I just said is, okay, now that money needs to go to some place that we can show the FAA this is it, okay? And actually it was one of these things, line item, income and expenses. So if it all goes into the general funds, it's not very easy, and every other place I've been on airport, they do the same thing, so it's not just Bisbee, okay? It just goes through, whatever money comes in, gasoline sales, anything that happens, even if you have a bake sale, it all goes into the general fund, and there isn't a clear-cut method of accounting for it. I don't know if that's changed in the last year or so, but that's one of the, I've heard it in FAA discussions before, where they say, well, what the hell, you don't even, where did it go? Where's, do you have matching funds? And then the city or county, they say, oh yeah, we do, and they say, where? Well, guess what? There's not a line item.
So what you're saying, let me just clarify here, what you're saying is that there's gonna be a bucket out there, there's some monies coming in,
Mhm.
but you're not sure where it goes, or you're not sure?
It goes to the city, it goes where it's supposed to go.
So,
It's just
So there's a
not
fund
in
for
a,
the airport? Is
So
there a
he's talking about
specific fund for
if-
the airport?
we were to use gasoline sales as a match, correct?
yeah,
Those gasoline sales, those are, they are
Itemized.
March.
itemized, yes, they are tracked and everything. So we have a number for how much come in, how much we pay for the fuel, and how much is coming in.
yeah.
We can show that.
That's it, but
We do
but
show
that's all
that.
there is the fuel, that's the only.
I mean,
income
well, there's
that you-
rentals as well. The rentals for,
Those-
shade hangers or hangers.
Okay, so those are
Okay.
itemized too. So if
Yeah.
I were to go to the city, I could say, can I see what the airport budget is?
Yeah.
You'd be able to show me.
Yeah, it's public, it's on the city website.
Who is the airport manager?
Who is?
Yeah, like who is? It's you.
Yeah.
Okay. So if we have any questions about any of this stuff, in theory, we could go to you.
Yeah. Send me an email, come by the office.
Okay. Do you appear on the budget as a cost to the airport, or is your time paid elsewhere?
No, I don't have any costs to the airport. My position is through Public Works, and my Public Works department pays for my position,
Okay.
not the airport.
But for budgeting purposes, they never pull that out, because it may be considered a hidden cost of the airport, and maybe we should, I don't know, at least be
Mhm.
sensitive to it in terms of the decisions that we make,
As far as,
because the people at the city and the know might have a more negative opinion about what the airport actually costs, but it's putting out numbers that say, it doesn't cost what they know it does.
yeah, I mean, my cost isn't very much. I mean, it's meetings like this. I mean, I have meetings with my property manager and different, and I mean, as of all of my departments, it's a small, minuscule amount of time.
And someone's living in a home there, right, on the airport property, and then is that rent part, is that a line item of income to the airport from the city?
Not a home, only what they pay for a access fee.
I mean, isn't there a manager or something out
So
there?
just talking down there by the ramp.
No, there's somebody there.
the little
I
office.
understand.
Oh, you talking about the,
There's a house with a guy in it and.
oh,
there's
yeah,
a-
that is the
Courtesy
property
car.
manager.
Okay, what does the property manager do, and is that a line item on the budget?
No, it's not, cause it's a contract, it's not an employee, well, usually it is an employee of the city, but we have a separate contract with them, and that is, they don't have to pay for really anything. What the change in hands is time, for maintaining the airport.
So it's a trade,
It's a, yeah,
basically.
you maintain
Place
the
to
airport,
live.
you get to live here.
Is that legal?
Oh, yeah, it's a legal contract.
Yeah, but what's not legal is that,
Well-
is that they're not doing anything.
Well, that too, but the thing
not
is,
doing
in
it?
terms of,
It's, I mean, you're saying it's bartering, and that therefore.
yes, and that's, I mean, if you're talking about housing, that's not, there may be
That
different,
has
when you're talking
gone-
about, may I finish? That
So-
you're talking about, an individual rental for an individual, and it may be different when you're talking about a city contract, but in terms of housing and in-kind services for housing and bartering, that, I know that's not legal. Now, that may be different when we're talking about
Yeah,
a municipality,
this has
and
gone
we have
through-
something to do
Our
with it,
city
especially.
attorney is the one that signs off on
Right.
these contracts.
So, but in
I
terms of
think for the discussion we're
compliance,
having, though, we're talking about, it wouldn't be it wouldn't be on the budget because it's sort of money come, money go kind of a thing.
right, but in
Yeah.
terms of compliance,
But-
and if we're trying to get compliance out of this person, you know, I mean, we need to
Yeah.
discuss that.
I think, yeah, just strictly
There's a
speaking,
contract. for
Also,
that person.
liability.
that could be true, although I guess the city would be the umbrella
Yeah, the city was,
provider of that.
Yeah.
But just for the airport, I'm just trying to understand what it really costs to run the airport. If someone else were to run it, for example,
So-
what would it cost that entity?
for like a private,
If it were to go private, if we were unable to get through this logjam, because I don't think federal funds have been received for what, 14 years?
yeah,
I
so.
mean, we just can't keep doing this.
So what would happen if the city decided, hey, we want to sell the airport? We can do that. We would just have to pay back FAA at a prorated cost of what the original runway, building a new runway cost back then. So how much we owe and now. So we would have to, if we sold the airport, we would have to at least make on it what we owe FAA at a prorated rate.
Okay. I do want to go down that road as an option, if that's what we need to do. If we were going to try to figure out what that number is, we would come up with that number.
We'd have to get with FAA on that. And really, yeah, we'd have to,
We could get a fair rough number just by going through the master plan and see all the steps that have been completed
yeah, the cost,
literally in the last 20 years.
20 years, yeah.
So if you prorate the federal dollars that have been spent, there's
Spent.
probably not very much there anymore if you haven't received any in 14 years. I mean, amortizing.
I mean,
the
but
runway.
you talk about the runway, I mean, that was probably at least a $2 million project,
That was
if
state
not
money.
more.
Wasn't that state money that just?
No. When the whole, this was, what was done like last year, that was just a resurfacing. I'm talking about in 14 years ago, when they rebuilt the runway, they tore the whole thing out and repaved it. That's what that funds are. So it was probably more than even the $2 million. I don't even
Who paid that?
FAA. That was when we had funding.
Okay, because I think I'm seeing a fork in the road when we talk about through the fence agreements. I've been told by, the city that that's the problem, but maybe that's the case, maybe that isn't. But I think we need to get at least past that. We have multiple property owners. And I think, to the best of my knowledge, is each one has their own history of having access to the airport. I'm now told everyone's paying an access fee, which I think is maybe a great start. I don't know.
That's happening. The access fee has been literally since day one.
Yeah.
So that is a version of an agreement, I think, right there. So I think probably finding out what the details are from the FAA, seeing what could be done, and if that doesn't work, talk to the FAA again. There is an office for solving these problems. They have the power to waive their own requirements, their own rules. They can waive them. So for existing access holders, which is everybody at this airport.
Yeah, I mean, you have to know that if the city sold the airport to a private owner, they would not get federal funding.
According to my research, they can. They can still get federal funding from the
Would that be
FAA.
the Steve Matthews Fund, or is it the FAA?
No FAA dollars. In fact, they have a
Okay.
privatization
Okay.
program at the FAA.
I haven't heard that, unless I was
Yeah.
told it wasn't.
I did some interesting research over the weekend on their website. It's all there. Actually, there is, and I should tell everybody who has time to look, they have a toolkit, a website specifically as a toolkit for coming, for doing the TTFA agreements. And it lists everything. I know Marilyn, one of the property owners, is concerned that she's been told by the city that she can't do other activities. Her property is zoned heavy industrial. But that's not the case as far as the FAA is concerned, and in fact, they talk about that on the website. Their interpretation of the laws, it's really quite interesting and informative. If we're coming in this as I was from a total vacuum.
Yeah, I don't know when that was told, but it wasn't recent.
Okay, so things like that, that seems like a wrinkle we could iron out if it's a non-issue. Right. But
Just
if,
to look at it, yeah. Certainly worth it.
yeah. But I think if the city doesn't have the appetite to do this, then that's okay. It just may be the case if after 14 years, at some point, or whatever the number is, if they say, hey, we don't want, we're done, we're tired, we're done, we frankly don't think the airport is our top priority, we need to do other things, then I think that we should take a look at another alternative, a form of ownership that maybe would better develop the airport.
Well, right now, it's not a matter of, oh, we're done. It's a matter of our hands are tied.
Because of this.
That's where we are, yeah.
Can you elaborate on that?
We
Tied up.
have no funds. We get
Is it the matching funds, you're saying?
we get no funds from FAA at all
Because,
of this, through the feds.
No agreements.
So we get allotted, not through a grant or anything, it's $150,000 a year. Every year now, since 2015 or whatnot, the city manager gets that email, and I get it now too, and the city manager, and we have to sign off that these funds, $150,000 is going to so-and-so airport instead of yours.
is that really, can we really claw that back? I've never heard of,
Can you-
I mean,
Can you what?
Dan was talking about that money not disappearing, but going to another facility.
That goes to another facility.
But let's say it goes to Douglas or something like that, is there realistically a way to get that money back if
No.
we were to be in compliance? It's just gone.
Yeah, that's just gone.
Okay.
What he's talking about is regular funding for grant funding, is what he's talking about. This is just allocated funds that we just automatically get if we had two defense agreement. So it's been roughly about $1 million that we've given away since 2015.
What would be good is to find the pros and cons of both sides.
Understand.
Yeah, pros and cons. and-
Like to have someone break it down, like really specifically, and how it affects Maryland. And-
Well, Maryland's not the only one. She's the one with the hangars. Maryland's has the largest property. She's the lightning rod.
I understand.
And especially when you talk about, like Dan said, the FAA doesn't like competition.
Okay, now
And-
finish.
Yes.
Maryland and everyone else that has an opposition to it and blind, and maybe, so we can find a compromise for everyone. And so this is no longer a logjam. You know, but I feel like I need to understand more about this. I couldn't make a recommendation based on what we're talking about. I think it's very nuanced and there's a lot to it. Yeah. I just feel like I'd like to know more about how it affects the individual property owners and the
So-
city.
Not to interrupt, the FAA came down, I can't remember what it was, and met with property owners. That's, should be on the website for you to view.
Okay.
You can even, possibly type in, some keywords, so search it, or call the city clerk, and she could probably send you that exact
The
one.
specifics, okay.
Yeah.
Right.
So that would give you some more detail, and they did, the FAA, the main, guy from FAA in Phoenix came down and did a presentation or talk or whatever.
I remember that meeting when he was here. I don't know how much got accomplished during that, but
I don't remember anything being accomplished. I was here for that.
I mean, I was here, I wasn't at the meeting, but
Dan was here.
I was out of
Mark
town.
and I and Marilyn, we were all.
I think you're right that the FAA should be involved. I think what we should do is, however, maybe speak to a different aspect of that agency, a different part, and talk to them about waiving their requirements. There is an office in Washington DC where it was listed as where the compliance department. And I don't know who should be contacting them. Would that be someone at the city? Is that me? Is that anyone here?
I mean, I think it would be somebody here.
Is that you? Who is it? Me, it's like- I mean, I would do it if I'm the best person to do it. It's just calling people, but, okay. So I can do that, and, but I think this looks like a fairly simple thing, a doable thing, I think. Is there have any of the other property owners signed an agreement that is acceptable to the FAA?
No.
No.
The last-
Every time we've come really close to having an acceptable agreement with the FAA, either somebody changes or a different department, it gets close and then it goes far away.
And who has the point person been from the city
As far as
on getting this through the fence agreement or access agreement?
city manager.
City man,
So Hawken is still
right now.
right now.
Yeah. The last, I was talking with somebody, one of the property owners recently, it just happened to be with the city manager, we were walking by and talking to her, and she said, she'll sign once Marilyn signs. Gretchen,
Oh, okay. Okay,
so,
all right. Has the FAA reviewed the agreements? I know that the FAA needs to review them before they're given to the property owners. What they do is they make sure that this fits their requirements before you take them to the property owners for signature.
yeah,
That's all been done?
yeah, it's just needs signatures.
Yeah, okay. All right.
Other airports in Arizona have industrial and commercial land adjacent to the airports, and have, plumbing companies, electrical contractors, all kinds of things. And not the big airport in Phoenix, but the next one to the east there, the smaller one.
Mesa?
Yeah, it's totally surrounded by industrial properties
Oh, yeah.
that, some of those companies are gigantic. They have, big jets. And they come and go. So in that respect, yes, Mark, it exists and it's doable. I know for a fact because I negotiated these same sort of things in Ely, Nevada. Some of them were federal, the Department of Agriculture wanted a hangar for the coyote hunters. The Bureau of Land Management wanted a building and 3 helipads, and they wanted, the building was for smoke jumpers. They needed places to roll up their parachutes and do everything. And then there was a couple of privately owned hangars on the other side of the field. And then the NOAA weather station was there also, and a VOR. So there was all the mixture of federal and private and everything you could imagine on one airport. So yes, it's doable.
What's the,
There have been parties that spend a considerable amount of money with lawyers that normally work with FAA, working on agreements with the FAA, and that was fairly futile also. Okay, this isn't simple for some reason. I don't get it. There are 2 deeded accesses. One of them is Maryland's, and one of them is to 2 properties that Gretchen Bonaducci owns. Okay, and then there are 1, 2, 3 leasable accesses. It has at least 3 years ago, maybe even more, they came by with agreements, and I signed all of the agreements because one of the properties was owned by Don Lading at the time, and one of the properties was owned, well, 2 of the properties were owned by me, and so I signed for all of the miscellaneous just so we could hold these accesses so we wouldn't lose them. They got surveyed. When did Sutherland survey? It was like 8 years ago or something, maybe even more. Anyway, so we went through the whole process, getting all of these. So here's Swan Road. Here's Arizona Street. This is Maryland on the corner of Swan. This was Don Lading, and this was me right here. This property, and this was Maryland here, and this was Tom. And so this is a deeded taxiway, and this is a deeded taxiway. One going to Maryland, and one. But it was split between, this other deeded taxiway was split between me and Tom. Okay, Tom sold to Gretchen, and then Don Lading sold to Gretchen, and so I have this property here, this property here. I have 5 hangars. Gretchen has one hangar on this property and 1 hangar on that property. That's all the private hangars there are.
I saw a map and it connects to yours too. I believe it goes
Yes,
down like
yes,
this.
this
So
one.
that's on the airport plan. We're talking about the map from the airport
May I
plan.
add
This
to
is-
that? Gretchen did sell that one property just recently.
Do what?
She sold
She
it.
sold the one property, the smaller property, the one without the Hacienda Avion, the one that has the hangar.
Hangar
directly.
on
On the north end.
It just recently sold. Or at least as per Zillow.
Yeah, it's just,
His
yeah.
name is Dan.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
okay, so whatever,
I don't know if that affects this
fine.
at all.
No, it doesn't.
Okay.
That property has an undeeded taxiway,
Undeeded?
undeeded,
Okay.
okay?
When you say
So there-
undeeded, what's the, why do you say undeeded versus deeded? What's the difference? Is it like official access versus
Yeah,
unofficial
yeah,
access?
no, it's,
The agreement.
yeah, well,
Like an easement?
yeah, like an
Because-
easement,
Okay.
yeah. They're surveyed, the center lines are set out, and then, this one, was here even before these properties were sold, because the gas line cuts across through the property like this. It's a high-pressure gas line, comes up to just over by the baseball field. And so there's a well here, and then a swampy area here that provides the ground for the gas line. So
This
this
is the south
access.
end you're talking
Yeah,
about, of
yeah.
the industrial
Yep,
zone.
this actually went all the way across, and then there's this taxiway on the other side, and then the dirt runway comes like this. So there was a cattle guard, and all that's still there. There was a road right here that went all the way to the very far eastern.
I think you're kind of making my point in a way, is that you have people, it may be deeded or not deeded, but if you're enjoying access, you have access. If you have hangars, I think it's hard to dispute that your property historically had an attachment to the airport and access to that runway. And I think it's a hard argument for anybody to say that these people should be cut off from access to that
Yeah,
runway.
especially when they got surveyed and
It just
the
is.
plat was.
If someone walks across your property for long enough, they have access to it.
It was the city that requested it to be surveyed.
But I think that applies in different ways. You have some people with deeds from the city, granting them that access. Other people, it's more implied or historically was in place and no one questioned it.
Well,
So I think everybody here would be advocating for their property rights, and I would imagine that a few of them, probably none of them would say, we don't want access anymore, count us out, put a fence around us. I don't think so. So I think everybody needs to have a deal here, don't you think?
yes.
Did you say everyone needs to have a deed?
A deal, like,
deal.
you know, it needs to be
Well, it's-
codified.
Yeah,
Codified specifically.
it needs to be accepted by the FAA.
Exactly, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And that's all that matters in a way, in terms of funding, is as long as the FAA is satisfied, we have direct access to funds.
So we need to just find out what they are willing to waive, those specific things, in order to come to an agreement.
In my research, the onus for putting these agreements in place is not the property owners, it is the sponsor of the airport, which is the way of saying the owner of the airport. They use the word sponsor. I guess it could be a lessee
Yeah.
or something.
No, that's the word.
It's
that
so-
they-
sponsor.
It's the sponsor, it's the owner, it's the city. The city is really at fault for not having these agreements in place. And the reason for that is that it's up to them. It can't be, it's going backwards to ask a property owner to come up with some sort of an agreement, especially in the case where you're potentially asking them to compromise something that they've already been enjoying all these years.
Decades.
And the FAA has the authority to waive those requirements. Now, if no one's been approaching the FAA and saying, hey, can you waive these because we're at a logger jam here,
No, it's been asked.
so did they say no?
Is there, yeah, we've asked, is there anything else we can do? No.
Really?
Who asked, how was it asked to be?
The city.
So is
And
this
they just
Pauken?
said, is there anything we can do? And that's the end of discussion from the FAA?
There's definitely still options of talking with them. I mean, it's not like there's no reason not to.
Is it appropriate for us to?
Yeah, are we the
So,
body?
so,
I mean,
let's, well, time out for a second. If this is, we're advisory,
Right.
Yeah.
To the city.
Yeah.
we can say anything for a week, and this, we're purely advisory. The
Right.
city can go on in their best judgment.
But you can provide that advice, if you choose to take.
So this is, and this is something that's very, particularly with committees, this shows as discussion.
Yes.
That's it, that's all, at this point. Now, I can take this and talk to staff.
So
Okay.
with that understanding that we are purely advisory, is it appropriate for us, I guess in terms of research or however you want to couch it, to ask the staff to reach out or for you to reach out and say, to the FAA and ask, you know,
Yeah.
how do we,
And I can tell you right now, well, no, let me rephrase this.
Go ahead, Matt.
I was almost said the same thing.
I can tell you, city manager is pretty much at the end of where he's tried and pushed and talked with FAA, and I mean, I can talk to him again about it and see if we can talk to them, because me and him even went up to their office in Phoenix to talk about this.
right,
I mean, so it's not like we've just been sitting here. We've went to Phoenix, we've talked to them we've had meetings with them on this, we've had full meetings with them.
and they're not moving on the fact that we don't have agreements. That's what the FAA is, that's their bottom
We
line.
have to have three defense agreements.
Which makes sense, but
Sure,
the
yeah.
content of those agreements is
I mean-
what's
So we need to find out where they're
in
willing
dispute.
to waive, where they're willing to waive those rules.
I think, back to your question, is who's gonna do
Who
it?
does
If
that,
Hawkins not
yeah.
gonna do it, if it's Hawkins' job and he's not gonna do it, I think he could use help.
Yeah, I can talk to him, like I said, I can talk to him, and you can even, you can even reach back out to me and whatnot if you want, to see where we're at on that.
So I'd be happy to do it. I have a positive outlook about reaching an agreement. I know we can. I've done harder things in my life, and I know all the property owners almost. I don't know the new guy. Who bought the hangar home there. I don't know Gretchen Monaducci very well. But all indications are that these are reasonable. These are my kind of people. They have cool properties at an airport.
Yeah.
You know,
I
I understand these people.
Yeah, I mean, it's a
And it's in
very
their best
awesome, neat
interest.
concept to have. I mean, you could leave your house and fly across the country. I mean, it's a very neat idea
Yeah.
and opportunity.
And so, okay, so you want me to talk to you?
Yeah, I can talk to Steve tomorrow and.
He may be able to deputize us, perhaps, and if he doesn't have any patience left, because I would hate to think that that's where we are and leave it there. I get where he could be impatient, I get that. We all get there. But we don't want to stay there. So,
Well, for everyone's sake, it seems like
yeah,
it's, we
just
have
the
to.
whole city.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, the city and
there's
property owners as well.
there's 3 options. So, you just have to
There's
find-
3 options, is that what you said?
Yeah,
What are those?
well,
Make it clear to me.
Yeah.
sign through the fence, sell it, block the landowners.
Can't do that.
You can't block
No,
the
you
access.
can't do that.
Those are the only
You-
options.
The city will be burning money in legal fees, and they're gonna lose in court if they ever did that. Can't do that. Can't block access.
Can't block the without
Yeah. Can't do it. That'll be city legal money being put in a bonfire and torched.
That's what.
Trust me, that wouldn't go well at all.
So where are we on this again?
Number 1.
Can we circle back to something that you said, Dan? I just wanted to clarify. I didn't want to derail the conversation. Dan, you said that the FAA doesn't want competition, is that what you said?
Yeah.
Okay, would you clarify that a little bit more?
Okay, so, just big round numbers, nothing specific. Say the hangar that Eric is renting, is $20 a month. Just, the number doesn't, okay? And say I have a hangar that's exactly the same, and I'm renting it for 10. So I'm competing with the city, right? So what we did before in other airports was we talked to the private owners and maybe it's a monopoly, maybe it's collusion, whatever, but we simply made sure that all the rents, all the way around the airport were, you know, if it's this many square feet, it's this many dollars, and this many, I know that particular competition idea was really big in Minden, because Minden, Nevada, sorry, outside of Carson City. And they literally have 1,000 hangars, literally. And then 1,000 hangars. And some of them are owned by the city, some of them are owned by Douglas County, some of them are owned by the state of Nevada, every possible mixture there was, okay? So, it literally, it took them 2 or 3 years to get everything settled down, because there was a couple of companies that towed gliders, and a couple of companies that were crop dusters and whatever, and the glider towing guys, they would have all their hangars full all summer, but in the winter, when hardly anybody wanted to go out and freeze, they weren't around, okay? So during the summer, the rent on those hangars was steep. The hangars were rented by the week. Okay.
There's another angle to that in terms of the fruit fence agreement. So again, the FAA, and they make it pretty clear how to do this. They provide guidance on how to do a fair market value or pricing for a fruit fence agreement. Someone, let's say with hangars, maybe even a better example, we're selling fuel next door to the airport. That's a lot of money. So if you had private property, had a gas station, and they wanted to negotiate with the airport, have a hole in the fence so planes could come in and fuel up and then fly away again, in theory it could be done, but it would be prohibitively expensive. And it's supposed to be like for like, so in the case of hangars, the airport has all this land. In this case, we have about 300 acres. It's a lot of land. If someone wants to build a hangar, you can get ground lease. So let's say I wanted to do that for my airplane. They pay maybe 25 cents per month per square foot. Again, that's the number on the FAA guidance, and 25 cents per square foot per month. For me to build the hangar on the airport, they might say, here's a 30-year lease. This is how much you're going to pay for the ground. You pay for the hangar to be put there. When you leave, we'll talk about what happens to your hangar, but you give it to us pretty much, or whatever. That's not the important thing, is that 25 cents per square foot per month. Maryland, what they want her to do, and it might not be 25 cents, it's whatever, but they're saying she should be paying that same amount, because after all, she has built the hangars with her own money, just as in this case, it's just that there's a fence here. She built it on this side of the fence, but what powers her hangars, what powers her business forward, is that she has access to the airport. Without the airport, her hangars are nothing.
Right.
In theory. In reality, you can put all kinds of stuff in big metal buildings, but as long as it's designated as an airport, an airplane hangar, then that's the competition that we're talking about. They don't want that. They don't want any excuse for you not to put money back into the airport. Because for everybody like me who rents a spot from Maryland, we're not going over to the airport and saying, we're going to pay you that ground lease. So you see, they make them exactly parity. I'm paying the same as I would be if I was just coming in, and that's how it works.
Okay. Thank you, that's important to understand.
Okay, so I think if we can, just to get to the next step, because I think all these other things, as I've said, 8 out of the next 10 or whatever are financial. We can go through those still, but so to get these agreements, are we able to talk to the FAA directly, or do you want to talk?
I mean, you can definitely, try and reach out to them.
Okay.
I don't think that's a big deal
Okay.
or anything.
The phone number was right there. I was tempted.
Yeah, I don't see any reason not to.
Okay.
I will talk to Steve and see how he wants to go.
And then I think we need to be very serious about a fork in the road here. If the city can't pull this off after all these years, I really think we need to investigate private ownership, giving it to a nonprofit or something. I think needs to happen. And according to my research, we can still get FAA money if that's our better horse. It's not the horse we want, but if that's the better horse than the city, then I think we have to investigate that. So-
They need to investigate everything.
Yeah, so I guess, well, that's another FAA conversation, right? It's how much to let it go privately.
I like the idea of a nonprofit, for sure. I mean, that's a lot of work, but I mean, it is, it is.
Yeah. Okay.
Is it, and I don't know, tell me if this isn't the appropriate time to ask, 3 months seems like a long time ago.
It does, it's
To,
1 month.
yeah,
Should do a
because
special
this is,
2 weeks
this is
or
like, this is a really important issue that I think
I agree.
it's just a long time to let go.
We can't wait a quarter year.
Yeah, it's a long time.
How do you do that?
Well, the budget discussion's coming up with the airport too. Into June, when they approve the budget, the general budget.
Yeah, the first council meeting of June, so in 3 weeks, 4 weeks, 3 or 4 weeks, it'll be approved.
Do you wanna do a special meeting in my here in 2 weeks?
2 weeks.
In what?
We need to check on calendars.
Special meeting.
If we were to have a special meeting to catch up on all this, because presumably I could have, or we, or somebody could have a conversation with the FAA in the next tomorrow.
Okay.
Check on calendars.
So when, were you saying?
I'm thinking maybe 2 weeks, if that's comfortable for everybody. I don't wanna throw too many meetings out there. Or if there's an informal way to,
Yeah, is there an informal way to do that? My issue was being here physically, and
Okay.
there is an issue with Zoom attendance. I really tried to make that happen, because scheduling is just really tough for me.
So what we could do perhaps is to have maybe 3 of us and then reach out to you and you know what's going on so that.
So the way to do it is you could do a work session.
work session.
A work session?
Okay,
So can I attend that via Zoom then? If it's just a work session? or is
it suits me, but I don't know, what are the rules?
No,
of
it would
work
still be
session?
in person. But it would allow it just to be 3 or however many.
So there's no allowances for that at all? I mean, I
Only
just- I have-
not unless there's emergencies.
It has to be an emergency, because I have something already scheduled, so it's just.
Was she
Yeah.
disallowed if I brought in a personal machine or something like that? It just, is she disallowed, are we disallowed from communicating with her by phone
I mean,
if she weren't here
with
for a work
a
session?
work session, we might be able to do that with a work
Because
session.
we could just have her on the phone, right?
I mean, I'll do my best to be here, I just can't communicate. I have a disabled child, so it's, that's an issue for me. And I'm disabled myself, so. But I don't want it to hold everything up. I'll do my best to be here, but
Okay.
if it's just a work session, maybe we can do it
Is that,
that way.
Dan, is that all right with you? Does that seem like the right thing to do?
I don't see where it's my decision.
Oh, everybody's disabled.
Well, I think you can input it.
I'll be at a meeting. Somebody says there's gonna be a meeting that's about the airport, I'll be here.
Done.
Okay, I can look at, I can have Lorena look at some times in the next couple weeks, 2 to 3 weeks, and send out a meeting, or an email of some options.
Okay.
Thank you.
Does this time of day work?
Oh, this is.
With the work
fine.
session, it can be different,
Okay.
but, yeah,
Okay.
but usually it's,
Just
Same
depending on if it gets so.
yeah, that too,
Yeah.
yeah.
I may be going backward here a little bit, but how do we, I realize I should have done more prep and brought in quotes from the FAA and things that would have helped our discussion
You
today.
did a lot already.
Mhm.
But I wonder if we have a way to communicate with each other.
So-
I don't know what the rules are about.
So you, in order to do that, send it to Lorena and ask her to send it out to everybody
Okay.
else.
Kinda
So
like-
she can distribute it to us?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, that'd
Okay.
be great, I'd love to see what you've got.
Or, Nina might be better. She does that for all the committees, so probably better with Nina. But I'll talk with Lorena, I put in notes in here, about a special session and we'll get some times in the next 2 to 3 weeks.
I'll do my very best. I know I brought up having a special meeting, and I just wanted to say I can't make it, but
No, you're right.
I just think
That's
it's
a
really
good point.
important. It's just too important to let go for so long.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. Are we okay to leave this discussion? Do you guys feel like?
Yeah, these are mine.
Okay.
And, yeah, because this is the most important, and then these will follow suit once that gets.
Do we
Yeah.
move through?
Yeah, so if you go with, we'll move on to discussion 2, which is discussion on maintenance of the taxiway. Why is it not being maintained? So is
Yeah.
that Sherry?
Yeah, that was me, and I've been talking to a couple of pilots, and they've said that there's a lot of weeds, that one of them was saying that he actually has gone out himself with some kind of a chemical to get rid of the weeds.
Was
so-
that Peter? Yeah.
Maybe. Yeah, so,
No, Peter emails us often.
well, it sounds like he gets his hands dirty.
Yes, he does. Yeah, both him and Eric do a lot of great work out there.
But what is when it seemed to me that it was the job of the guy that was getting free rent.
And he does, that's his job.
He mows.
Yeah, he mows.
He mows the edges and when it gets tall and yes, there's other, those aren't the only people that work on
Yeah,
taxiway stuff, so, yeah, the idea that nothing's going on the taxiway is false.
yeah.
The idea that the taxiway is rough, believe me, it's rough. Okay, but, everyone's doing.
But it's not the
Yeah.
responsibility of the guy in the house
No,
to keep the
not
taxiway.
his sole world.
Okay.
There's, if there really and truly is a selected airport manager, there is a list of things that is supposed to happen, okay? But we don't have an airport manager. We have, is his job title airport manager?
He's are you talking about the gentleman,
Yeah,
airport property manager?
yeah.
Property
Okay.
manager.
But you're the
Yeah.
airport
He's the
manager,
airport
Yeah.
manager, yeah.
Yeah.
but that's one of many hats that you have.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Because last time I checked, we talked about other
Oh,
business,
yeah,
so it
that's
wasn't
one
the
of them.
airport. That's why it's news to me.
Well, yeah, no, and that's, there has been a problem with the property manager, and we'll be making a change. I'll just say that. And we have, I think at least twice this year, have called in, I can't remember the company name, and they've come out and sprayed, a killer and a pre-emergent. So we've done
Not this
work.
year
Don't
specifically.
forget the prisoners.
Yeah, no, yeah, this year. It's been twice this year, where we've paid a company, I can't remember, it's like at least $600 for them to come out and spray the whole taxiway, the edges, and then where it's real bad, they spray the entire taxiway. We've weeded, we've got out there, we've had inmates get out there with shovels and shovel the grass out. So it looks, on the south end, it looks amazing compared to what it used to look like.
The surface is rough anyways.
Yeah, the surface is rough. They did a chip seal, and chip seal is not the right job for that.
Okay. So, is it Windsock?
So are we talking about the windsock that's on the very southwest corner, the end, basically the south end of the runway on the west side?
That one was replaced, I think, last time I was out there,
Yeah,
a few weeks ago.
So there's 2 Windsocks.
There's
Plus Maryland's.
2 or
Maryland's
3.
replaced too, I think.
Yeah, she's replaced that, but
Yeah, there's one in the middle, one on the south end.
okay, so there's 2 that are,
And we
Yeah.
already talked about the wind tee. And the-
Yeah, that one we have to get lights.
The wind tee needs, it gets maintained, and then the lights are out, and that's about it for that. And then, where else is there a windsock? I mean.
There was one right by the apron, but
Yeah.
I went out there and mowed for the antenna the other day,
Yeah.
and it didn't see it there anymore, so.
Yeah.
But that one wasn't even there when I was out there.
No.
That one's not a normal one, so I don't know who put that one up. But, so there's usually two main ones in the middle, midway, and then south end.
Question, if I were to call the phone number for the airport, I guess that's the airport manager, is that your phone number?
I think you get
It
it right.
either might be the office, or it might be the airport property manager's phone.
That's the
phone.
guy in the house?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, I don't know I can't remember which ones are up there, so it's either the office, Public Works office, City Hall.
So he's kind of in charge of incoming business in a sense, if someone's calling, if they wanted to, because that I think impacts some of these, we're talking about the NOTAM.
Mm-hmm. So
Does
he
he
puts
does
out no
those?
TAMs.
Okay, if someone called and said we want to drive cars around on the airport, on the airfield, does he have
No.
authority to say yes or no?
No, he does not have the approval to
Does
do
that
that.
happen though, right?
Well, so. when-
Driving practice,
When
number
the
9.
police were out there, I went and talked to them.
Oh, yes.
And, so the discussion with them went like this. They need to have, so the basic requirement for going out on the runway surfaces, period, for anybody, is you need checkered flag, you need a rotating light, and you need a radio for two-way communication, so you can hear if somebody's coming, and so in this particular case, they were all really interested. A couple of guys actually understood aviation stuff, and they thought that somebody in the office in the city office had filed a NOTAM. They knew what a NOTAM was, and they knew it was supposed to be filed. They're police cars, so there was no problem getting lights on. But they didn't have flags, and they didn't have a radio for, knowing when someone's coming, because what you're supposed to do is say, golf cart 1, 2, 3 entering the taxiway on the north end headed south, or something like that, Bisbee area traffic, blah, 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 blah. Okay, so if somebody was coming in that situation, and we discussed it, and the discussion went just like this, said if you had a radio and you could talk to them, you would say, Bisbee incoming traffic, we have vehicles, people and vehicles on the runway, we will be clear of the runway in 5 minutes. Okay? It was that simple, and everybody was good. The problem was they didn't have a radio that was 122.8. Okay, so and we get radios given to us whenever we do a project, because we say they're safety items, and we put them on a list of things that when a contractor comes onto the airport to do their work, like chip sealing, we say, well, we need 4 radios, and they use the radios during the project, and we keep them. That's how that works. So I can tell by the look on his face, he hasn't pulled that one.
I haven't what?
You haven't pulled that one yet. It's not robbing the contractors, that's a funny way around the FAA, because they will buy us radios in those cases.
May I ask what they were they EVOC trained? The
What?
police, when the police were out there?
They had some cool things they were trying out. Yeah, I don't know what they're called, they were pretty neat.
It was,
It was really entertaining.
Emergency vehicle training?
I forget, like I said, like he said, I can't remember the name. It's the contraption, the new contraptions.
Yeah.
There was actually a gentleman out of Phoenix that created it, and now they're on a lot of pursuit vehicles. It's the mechanism in the front that drops down and it has a netting, and and you drive up and you catch the back tire of the vehicle you're pursuing, and it brings them to a halt.
And
It
works.
saves lots of lives.
It's pretty impressive.
Anyways,
It is
that's what it was. There was supposed to be a NOTAM for closure of runway. Again,
So,
I've been having problems with.
In other instances with training things like that happening at the airport, the time before this was on the ramp area, and they were doing something with vehicles, and what non-aviation people do not understand is the average aircraft is like 40 feet wide. All right, so they'll park their car right there and say, oh yeah, we're clear. And so you're sitting in the aircraft and your wingtip's like that far chair over there, and you can't tell if it's gonna hit the chair or the wall, okay? So all of a sudden, things need to be pretty far apart, even for a small airplane, okay? And people that are not in airplanes don't get it, okay? And you gotta explain it to them. So they can't, where the taxiway comes in from the runway, you can't have a car parked on either side of that taxiway because it's too close, okay? So little things like that.
Yeah, so the only way a vehicle is supposed to be on there is if they get approval,
Right.
which the police did, but the NOTAM wasn't done correctly, so.
Okay.
The reason I brought up the airport manager, that you're calling airport property manager, is I'm going through, and these would be items 2, 3, 4, 7, 8, 9, would all be something that person would really be the point man or the contact point for the airport. So if someone called, they said, hey, your windsock is torn, I don't know, you call the number. If you can't use the radio to talk to the airport, you call the phone number, hey, the windsock's torn. It's the same thing, the lighting isn't working, you know, that's sort of the job of that person.
Yes.
Somebody has to do it. It sounds like it might be trickling maybe through to you, I guess, or other volunteers are doing some of this.
Usually it should go straight to him. I do have people that will email me or call me and tell me, hey, so-and-so, you know, like Eric or Peter, whoever. But like for item number 5, if you want to go on that one.
That one's not the one I'm looking at.
Oh, sorry, number 4.
You're welcome to if you want. But
Number 4. Sorry, I looked at the wrong number. The pilot system, that went down probably, what, 4 years ago?
Yeah.
That is a very expensive system, like very expensive, thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars. And so instead of, sorry, my screen went blank. And at that time, we added edge of runway lights that were solar that come on at nighttime, at dusk.
Are they bright enough? Solar lights, I'm thinking that's
They're
cheap
bright
for.
enough.
I know somebody who used
Cheap
it.
for a
They're bright enough for me. I wouldn't say they would be bright enough for everyone else.
For
but-
somebody that doesn't.
They are FAA approved. Yeah, we didn't just put something out
Oh,
there.
really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, really?
I haven't used it.
Yeah, so along with this little discussion is if a person's airport manager, there's a certain list of things they need to know, and some of it is really dumb, like what does it mean when the rotating beacon is on during the day? So, there's a whole list of things, and checking the perimeter fence, and you know, they're also responsible for sampling and checking the fuel that we're selling to the public. And there's a whole list of things, and the person that gets chosen needs a certain amount of training to go through that. Or they should say,
Should have.
You know,
Yeah. Did.
yeah, no, when I went to airport manager school, I ended up with a whole pile of books. The guy that was there before you, I went through all that with him, and he was more interested in the sewage treatment plant, so.
Isn't there some sort of certification? I'm sorry, I
What?
interrupted you. I'm sorry. Is there some sort of certification, correct, for that
Yeah,
position?
there's an airport manager association, and it's usually associated, it's usually a state kind of thing.
I've never heard of that.
I belonged to the Airport Managers Association for 15 years.
Well, it sounds like, to me, like there's some tightening up that needs to be done. And we're just the ones to do it.
It's probably not the reply, but so,
All right, so,
the rest of these, I think we've gone through, and I think we've gone far enough, so please can we quit this and go on?
Thank you. I think the most important, for sure, was that number one, and it sounds like it will bring through in there, and that feels really good. Yeah. Some movement, possible movement, yeah. Okay.
I'm good with that. Oh, do I do this?
Motion,
you know.
I motion to surrender.
Guilty.
okay, who motions, to adjourn?
I do, yes,
Okay. Who seconds?
Sherry.
All approved?
yes.
All right, opposed? Okay. we're good.
Nice.
Very good.
Nice hand holding, Matt.
What?
It's a nice hand holding.
Oh, yes.